Hello, chess friends, and welcome to your Out of Chess channel, and welcome to a spectacular game from the Computer Chess Rating List website in an opening that you have requested now many times here on my YouTube chess channel. Welcome to an amazing gameplay by Arasan against the top engine Stockfish 17 in a crazy exchange variation of the Grünfeld defense. And the other day, I wrote a post in which I wanted you to suggest me some openings in which you wanted to see Stockfish playing, and already we have covered your favorite choice, the King's Gambit, with the black pieces. We have covered also your second choice, the Smith-Morra Gambit with the black pieces, and now also one of your favorite choices was the Grünfeld defense from black's perspective, and I found really this epic game in which I think again you see everything. First of all, great opening theory, then spectacular middle game tactics, but I would say this is also a great defensive game here by Stockfish. Stockfish will show us here the art of the defense, because in one moment I would say Arasan pull off very crazy attack with an exchange sacrifice. Stockfish was really on the defensive side, so I think really a crazy game in your choice in the amazing Grünfeld defense. So with white, Arasan opened with move c4. Stockfish response was knight to f6. We have d4, g6, knight to c3, d5. We have now the Grünfeld defense. We have now the exchange variation. And now after knight takes c3, b takes c3, the idea about bishop to g7 and knight to f3, c5 is that you simply put more pressure against this pawn. This pawn cannot be taken because of bishop to c3. And now the basic concept of this opening is the battle for the d4 square. So in the next couple of moves, black will try knight to c6, put more pressure against this one, maybe even bishop to g4, attack the knight that is of course controlling the d4 square. So as I said, it's simply so far a battle for one centralized square. Here in the continuation, bishop to b5 by Arasan, attacking now the king. Stockfish covers now with the knight on c6. And now there is an option to play the move d5, which seems that it's very dangerous here for black, but actually black can survive with queen to a5 with a great counterattack. And then bishop to c6 wouldn't be so good here because of b takes c6. And then you try, I don't know, rook to b1, then bishop to a6. You try, I don't know, to do something, but this light square bishop is simply too powerful. Bishop to c3 can happen, so it's not working. So after queen to a5 in this line that wasn't playing in the game, but I think we should really study a little bit theory here. After queen to a5, then rook to b1 can be played supporting, then the bishop on b5, and then, I don't know, bishop to c3. Again, bishop to d2, you can cover, but then a6. And the issue is you should not maybe go like this, bishop to c6, I don't know, b takes c6. Again, I would say a better position, I would say, for black. Although the engine gives here equal chances, I would always love to play now this game more from black's perspective because of this weaknesses. c6 weak, e4 weak, a2 weak. You cannot even play here after move a6 immediately d takes c6 because of, I don't know, we pick up this one, you pick up this one, but then again after bishop to b7, it's even a much better position now for black, where again now black is having these two mobile pawns that are rolling on the queen side, and still white is continuing with the weakness on a2 and still with the weakness on e4. So d5 is a little bit scary in the beginning, but this counterattack with queen to a5 I think solves any tactical problems here for black. But okay, here after knight to c6, that's why rook to b1 finally by Arasan. Arasan is now supporting the bishop and is threatening now finally the move d5. So that's why Stockfish plays castling, gets out of this attack, and now finally d5. Knight to e5, castling here by Arasan, and now a6, kicking away this very unpleasant bishop from this active square on the queen side. We have now bishop to d3. The issue about this bishop is a little bit that it's a little bit blocked by its own pawn, and of course you don't want to give up your good piece maybe for a bad piece of your opponent. Then after knight to d3, queen to d3, and then in the next couple of moves I think we can expect moves like, I don't know, knight to g5, f4, e5. Suddenly the pawns are rolling on the king side. Again, the engine says here it should be about equals, but from a strategic point of view I would say I would love now to play more this game from white's perspective. Okay, here after bishop to d3, Stockfish actually took now the knight on f3, queen to f3, and now bishop to c3. Stockfish in this tactical sequence gained one pawn, but the issue a little bit about this move bishop to c3 is that in one moment you lose another tempo with your bishop. The bishop is not going to stay there forever, so you will lose an extra tempo, and then in the next couple of moves we can expect again this attacking idea. I don't know, queen to g3, and then f4, f5, e5, g4, g5. So suddenly white would use now the pawn majority as an attacking method against the black's king. So it's really, I don't know, in lower rated level, I think it's hard to defend, but you see now very great defensive skills here by Stockfish 17. So after bishop to c3, what Arasan could have played is this idea. Bishop to a6 has been played in chess history. Then you obviously you shouldn't take because of queen to c3 leads maybe into this opposite colored bishops, but with the downside that now suddenly black is weak and too much the dark squares. So it's not a pleasant game to play like the game like this, with threatening immediately with bishop to h6 the checkmate. So very tough to defend. But after bishop to a6, as I said, this line has been played in chess history in a game played by Pavel Sovinsky against Jan Golecki back in 2023. Then you simply step back, and then I don't know, after bishop to c4 you play queen to c7 or queen to d6 is even slightly better, I would say, because you're not allowing here this pawn to be pushed on d6, and now we have this great battery. So I would say again a playable position for both sides. But after bishop to c3, what Arasan decided here to play is actually, I would say, a great idea. It's really a nice progressive plan. Arasan played now the move a4, which becomes now a theoretical novelty. This move a4 does several things. First of all, it's not allowing black to play the move b5, which would let simply the pawns roll here on the queen side. And now with this move, really white slow down somehow the attack on this side of the board, and is hoping now to finally get this position. Queen to g3, f4, f5, e5, this pawn majority attack that we have discussed earlier. We have now bishop to d4, Stockfish drops back, and now bishop to g5. This move is not allowing also a very important defensive idea here by black, the move e6. For instance, if you play bishop to h6 instead of bishop to g5, then after rook to e8, I don't know, h4, that seems to me like a natural idea to attack the position further. Then e6 is, I think, solving any problems now for black. The pawn chain here, this e4 d5 pawn chain will be undermined, and I think black is out of this tactical mess. So here after bishop to d4, that's why bishop to g5, not allowing this e6, e6 move, yes, to happen. So here Stockfish continues now with the move b6, queen to g3. Now we have this idea, f4, f5. First of all, of course, we have to bring also the king maybe to h1. Stockfish continues now with an attack with f6, bishop to h6. So see, now suddenly white is building really a great attacking formation. The main goal is to play even something like h4, h5, trying to undermine here the pawn chain in front of black's king, and in some lines maybe also to play the move e5, and then bishop to g6, h6, g6, queen to g6 is even a checkmate. So very tough to defend. But Stockfish plays first of all a brilliant idea, bishop to d7. The issue about the move bishop to d7 is here that Arasan should not take the rook on f8. In this line, actually black is much better, because after king to f8, you could maybe try the move d6, I don't know, to somehow disconnect maybe the pawns in front of black's king. But then black has this defensive resource, e5, would simply cement his position, and the main strategic goal is then to play the move b5 and then connect two passers somehow on the queen side with the support of the bishop pair, with the support of the rook, with the support of the queen. Again, I would say very hard to defend. And actually for white here, well, maybe white could make pressure with queen to f3, then rook to b8. The issue here, I'll analyze a little bit deeper this line. Instead of this move rook to b8, many of us would play maybe the move bishop to a4. But I wanted to also show you here how brutal this game can become also for black. After bishop to f4, actually here white is winning because of the tactic here, rook to b6. Really well stopped. You play queen to b6, then queen to f6. You have to now step back, and now the bishop is coming here into game, and it's simply game over. You get checkmated in really spectacular way. So that's why here, as I said, bishop to f8 doesn't bring you so much, because after d6 e5, you should not play here after queen to f3 the move bishop to a4. You play a calm rook to b8, keep your b6 pawn protected, And then after something like bishop to a6, bishop to a4, and now this pawn on d6 will be taken. In one moment we'll get the goal b5, and suddenly with the bishop pair the pawns are rolling, and very, very unpleasant position now here to handle for white. But okay, after bishop to d7, that's why Arasan played the correct choice. Bishop to c4 with the threat of d6, and then liberating the long diagonal for the light square bishop. We have now rook to e8, d6 comes finally, and now e6. So Stockfish has to now first of all play this strange defensive move. So far Stockfish is keeping the position intact in front of its king, but now rook from f to d1. Here Arasan is announcing a potential even exchange sacrifice with the move rook to d4, because when you get rid of the dark square bishop, then black could face many dark square problems, because this bishop on h6 is already very dangerous. Stockfish continues now with bishop to a4. Now comes this idea, rook takes d4. Here Arasan goes for the attack against the big fish. So Arasan dares to sacrifice the exchange against Stockfish. Usually, of course, Stockfish is on the sacrificing side. Now after rook to d4, c takes d4, we have now the move e5, and Stockfish reacts here correctly. Stockfish doesn't take the pawn. F takes e5 is actually suicide, because after queen to e5, there's again too much pressure. b6 weak, e6 weak. It's almost impossible now to defend everything. Stockfish suggests here maybe the move queen to d7 that could prolong the game, but then you can try rook to b6. Look at this, and the issue is you cannot compete anymore with the rook here on the b file, because you get simply deflected from the defense of the pawn on e6, and now the position collapses. You don't have to pick up the queen. There is an immediate checkmate threat here. Of course, after queen to d7, rook to b6, black doesn't have to play now the move rook to b8, but I think it's a devastating position. Too much pressure now. The queen is overloaded to the defense of the square g7, so that's why after move e5 we saw f takes e5. Not a good continuation here for Stockfish. Stockfish continues now with bishop to b5, which makes perfect sense, trying to get rid of the bishop pair, which is very dynamic in this open battle. But of course Arasan stays simply connected to this diagonal and keeps now both of the bishops on the board. Rook to c8, and now comes the first tiny little critical moment, I would say, of this beautiful game. So after rook to c8, in order to stay in the game, Arasan has to find now the optimal attacking idea. And look what Stockfish is suggesting. So Stockfish with the white pieces here in this position would, I would say, also brutalize. The engine gives here really equal chances now for both sides, but you go with an aggressive h4. And then after rook to c5, you continue the pressure with h5. You allow here maybe king to f7, but now you play this one. Look at this. You sacrifice even the other rook for the bishop. Then after rook to b5, queen to f3. You put more pressure against this pawn. Maybe you can give up even the pawn on e5, but now you play queen to b7, and that's now the huge tactical problem here in black's camp. Black has to now cover, of course, with rook to e7. If you don't do that, then you get checkmated here. So that's why you have to cover here with the rook to e7, then d takes e7, queen to e7, and now you pick up this pawn. Maybe rook to h5 can happen, but now after bishop to d2, again an equal position. But this will be really still an interesting position to see for both sides here. White has the bishop here, black has the rook, but gained also 3 extra pawns in this battle. Black's king is a little bit endangered, so very tense battle it will be for sure. That was, as I said, the only way somehow to make further progress was actually the move h4. But Arasan continued with e takes f6, and this is not good, because this move is allowing here Stockfish to play a counter attack with rook to c2, bishop to b3 could be met with rook to c5, then you're controlling the 5th rank. Here after rook to c2, bishop to g5, played by Arasan with the threat of e6, attack against the king, and then to pick up the queen, which forces now here Stockfish to play now the defensive move king to f7, blocking out, of course, the potential progress of the pawn on the f. We have now bishop to b3, rook to c5, an attack against the bishop, and now Arasan again doesn't react correctly. Here Arasan again should have gone for this plan with the move h4. Then after something like, I don't know, rook to c3, queen to f4, h6, and then you can pick up this one, queen to f6. Still, I would say maybe, I don't know, a better position for black, but with queen to g4, you keep the queens on the board. You still have your bishop pair. Maybe something can be done in this wild game where, of course, still black has this endangered king on f7. This was, as I said, the only way maybe to prolong the game with the white pieces. But instead of h4, Arasan played rook to e1, and this is the issue. The rook gets finally disconnected from the defense of the bishop on b3, and Stockfish continues now with a good h6, bishop to h6, and now rook to c3. Attack against the queen comes here, and now Stockfish simply grabs the pawn. But Arasan thought that it could get the queen here. Look at this really, really crazy position. Arasan thought that it could maybe make progress with queen to h6, queen to h7, and then to play discovered attack against the king, because this pawn is very, very annoying here. But Stockfish again plays the correct plan. e5, obviously you cannot take because of the back rank problems. You get checkmated immediately. So that's why after e5, queen to h6 here by Arasan, but now bishop to d3. Great defensive move here by the fish, because even if you go with queen to h7, then g5 solves any tactical problem. Again, the rook is connected to the bishop. The queen has to step back, so you don't have time to play the discovery because you lose the queen. After bishop to d3, that's why h4, a move that Arasan should have played much, much earlier. Now it's simply not working because of queen to d6, queen to h7. Now comes this idea again, g5, queen to h5, Stockfish covers. Arasan takes now the pawn, but now rook to b1. Great move, which again liberates this bishop, and Stockfish continues now the game with an extra rook and also with this pass pawns here on the queen side. Of course, maybe some of us, I don't know, would lose the game, maybe would mess it up, but not, of course. Stockfish after bishop to h8. Stockfish grabs now simply this piece, allows here Arasan to get the rook, but now Stockfish is up a whole bishop. So here Stockfish simply push the pawn further. Queen to h6, queen to d4, queen to d2, and now bishop to c2. Can't move here by the fish. h5, Stockfish grabs now this pawn. We have g3. You could maybe try, I don't know, some kind of a check, but actually black will eventually escape, I don't know, somewhere here, and then would push the pawn. So again, completely winning position, of course. Here for Stockfish, after king to f6, Arasan tried g3, Stockfish plays bishop to b3, king to h2, king to f7, queen to e4, and now Stockfish played, and I think, a normal idea, a natural trade of queens, and this now simplified game in which Stockfish attacked the pawn, went simply with the king a little bit further, pushed now this distant pass pawn, and now after king to h6, king to g5, nothing could be done. Here then king to f5, Stockfish promoted now to queen, and after queen to e5, king to c6, b5, king to b6, and b4, in this particular position, Arasan resigned. So great game, I would say, here by Stockfish with the black pieces. Amazing, I would say, defensive skills, but then also afterwards great tactics all over the board. Really interesting line of the Grünfeld defense. Could happen to you if you like this opening. Still, I would say very often played opening top grandmaster level. I think Maxim Vashilograb is the master of the Grünfeld defense. Really a great player in this opening. I think this was useful. I think this was really again a brilliant game played by the strongest chess hand in the world, by Stockfish 17. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see some other spectacular, sharp, aggressive games like this, check out our Come to Chess Games Played by Computer series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.